Welcome back to my channel. I make videos about forgotten urban legends, and this is one of my favorites. There's something really satisfying about learning what happened to all these mysteries from long ago. But I do have to warn you, some of these tales can get pretty dark, and some of them might even leave you questioning reality. So if you think you can handle it, stay tuned. This story comes from a popular YouTuber when he was digging through old news clippings looking for inspiration for new videos. He found an article from 2009 about a haunted house in a small town in Pennsylvania. Residents described it as a place where no one left unchanged. But the scariest part was that the alleged haunting had been happening for over 100 years. The house is located in the countryside, and it was first built by a wealthy farmer named Jedediah Hitchcock back in 1904. He lived there peacefully until one day in May when he vanished without a trace. His body was never found. No one knows what happened to him, but some believe his spirit may still be stuck inside the house. Over the years, more strange occurrences were reported. In 1952, a group of teens decided to spend the night in the abandoned farmhouse to prove that ghosts were unreal. They stayed for one night, but when the sun came up, they fled in terror. According to their story, the house began shaking violently during the night, and whispers seemed to emanate from the walls. Then, in 1968, a young mother and her son moved into the home. They only lasted 3 days. She would later claim that the house was sentient and vengeful, and she and her son barely made it out alive. For the next few decades, the house stood empty until 2002, when a man bought it at auction for back taxes. For a while, everything seemed fine, but then his daughter moved in with him, and strange things began to happen. She told the local news that she could unsleep because of the whispering and footsteps in the attic. Then one night she saw the ghost of a woman standing in front of her bed. The terrified tenant moved out immediately. The owner put the house back up for sale, but it sat on the market for 6 years with no takers. Finally, the owner agreed to rent it to anyone who was willing to move right in. A week later, a couple showed up, but they were gone by the next morning. Next, a single guy moved in, but he only lasted 2 days. Now, it was time for one more story. And for this chapter, our protagonist would be a vlogger known for exploring supposedly haunted places. On September 12, 2009, he arrived at the house with 2 friends. As soon as they stepped outside, an unsettling feeling washed over him. Even though it was the middle of summer, he felt a sudden chill. The grass was knee-high, weeds had taken over the garden, and the front porch sagged precariously above them. When they opened the door, a cloud of dust billowed out. Inside, cobwebs hung from every corner and furniture was covered in white sheets. He ran a flashlight beam across the walls and noticed something peculiar. What looked like scorch marks marred the plaster. His friend Josh pulled out a pen and gently touched it to the wall. The mark came off on the tip. He was shocked. Could this be the key to the mystery? Was the house somehow draining the life force from its inhabitants? He set up his camera gear in the living room and began recording. While he was setting things up, he heard a loud crash from upstairs. Josh and the other friend, Sam, both claimed they heard it too. Then, when he turned around, he noticed a chair that hadn't been there before. It looked like an antique rocking chair. In the footage, he walks slowly toward it, eyes wide with wonder. Suddenly, the chair rocks once. Then it stops. As darkness fell, the group explored further. In one room, they found an old vanity table. The mirror had fallen off the wall and lay shattered on the floor. He picked up a piece and brought it to his nose. It smelled faintly of lavender and old perfume. While filming the empty bedroom, he suddenly stopped. He swore he saw the corner of a blanket move slightly. Then he turned the camera to face him. He was pale. He admitted that he didn't believe in ghosts, but there was something undeniably creepy about the house. He could feel eyes boring into his skull. He kept waiting for something to jump out at him, but nothing did. With no one around, he decided to spend the night. He spread out a sleeping bag on the floor and climbed in it. As the minutes ticked by, the silence was deafening. The only sounds were the chirping crickets and the distant hoot of an owl. Suddenly, a whisper broke the quiet. The word was so faint he could barely make it out. It was just one word, but it sent shivers down his spine. It was his name. He sat up and listened intently, but he couldn't hear anything else. Maybe it was just his imagination, or maybe the house was coming alive. As the night wore on, more whispers could be heard. At first, they were incoherent, just random bursts of unintelligible sound. Then they started forming words. The words formed into phrases. And now he was hearing full-on sentences. The scary part was that the voices seemed to be coming from inside his head. It was as if the house itself was reaching out, probing his mind. And then they started commenting on what he was doing. Every time he moved, a disembodied voice would remark about how fast he was moving. If he paused, they'd tell him to keep going. At first, he tried to ignore them, but the whispers grew louder, more insistent. They told him to get out. They told him he wasn't welcome. And then they started to berate him, calling him names, insulting his family. He could feel his blood boiling, his heart pounding in his chest. He got up and began pacing, trying to shake off the feeling that he was being watched. He looked at his phone and realized it was only 2 a.m. He still had hours to go. That's when he noticed something truly disturbing. His phone was dead. Not just low battery, but completely dead. In the footage, he runs around frantically, trying to find a way out. But as he does, he realizes that none of the rooms look the same. The house has changed its layout. Then the whispers became screams and the voices became clearer. The whispering voices from before had belonged to a little girl and an old woman. Now he could hear their distinct voices separately. The little girl said, "You shouldn't be here," while the old woman cackled maniacally. At this point, he was close to tears. He fell to his knees and prayed silently that the nightmare would end soon. He looked up and saw a picture hanging crookedly on the wall. The frame was ornate and tarnished with age. Slowly, he rose and walked toward it. He reached out a trembling hand and straightened the picture. Then he recoiled in horror. The glass covering the image had vanished. Where there was once a photograph of a stern-faced man, now hung only a gaping hole. The old woman's raspy voice cut through the silence. "Don't touch anything else," she rasped. He whirled around to see an armoire he hadn't noticed before. Its surface gleamed like polished bone. Summoning his courage, he approached it and placed his hand on the cool wood. As soon as he did, a blood-curdling screech split the air. He jerked back, knocking over a nearby chair. The little girl's voice echoed sadly, "Why do you come here?" Suddenly, the lights flickered and died, plunging him into total darkness. Panic seized him. He stumbled backward, knocking over a vase. It hit the floor with a sickening crunch. He wanted to run, but his legs felt like lead. He slumped down on the floor, burying his face in his hands. Just when he thought it couldn't get any worse, the lights flickered back on, but it wasn't the same. The room was filled with an unnatural green glow, and then he saw the horrifying truth. There was another figure in the room with him. The moment he noticed the presence, the whispering started again. This time they were chanting, "See me, see me, see me." He turned his head and locked eyes with the spectre. Startled, he cried out. The figure remained motionless, and the chanting grew louder. "See me, see me, see me." Terror gripping his heart, he scrambled backward. Then something terrible happened. His whole vision tunneled, and he couldn't move. The whispering voices continued to chant, "See me, see me, see me." The last thing he remembered was the ghastly figure advancing toward him, its face obscured by darkness. He woke up in a cold sweat, gasping for air. He was lying on the floor, and the camera was still rolling. The entire stream had been recorded, and viewers could see everything he saw. It was pure pandemonium in the live chat. People were screaming at him to run, but he couldn't move. Some people said they saw the girl, others said they saw the old woman, some said they saw the shadowy figure. The most disturbing messages came from people he recognized. These were people who had vanished after spending the night in the house. They wrote things like, "It's too late, it's too late, and I'm trapped forever." Then the video cut to static. All that could be heard was a faint whisper. It's watching through the screen too. So, have you ever seen something terrifying on a live stream? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see more videos like these, stay tuned for more content. Thanks for watching.